and welcome to the first tutorial in our Getting Started in Stata series. Today I will be going over basic data manipulation in Excel, how to import data into Stata, and how to begin working with that data. So the first thing that I'm going to do is open the Excel spreadsheet that I want to work with. In this case, I'm going to be using Bureau of Labor Statistics data from 2008 relating wage and various characteristics of wage earners in the United States. And I have that data in an Excel spreadsheet. The two kinds of files you'll typically use in Stata, and you'll typically download them from the internet, are Excel spreadsheets and DTA files. Often, if you've made your own data, you'll do that in Excel, which is why I'm emphasizing Excel in today's tutorial, but either one is a perfectly reasonable approach. So for me specifically, I've created a spreadsheet such that in my first row I have variable names, which will be important later and which I recommend, and in each column I have the observations for each of those variables. So in this case I have hourly wages, I have here years of education, the age of the wage earner, the years of experience of the wage earner, and then several dummy or binary variables explaining basic characteristics about each wage earner, like gender, race, marital status, geographic location, whether they were a full-time worker, and whether they were near a metropolitan area. Once I'm happy with my Excel spreadsheet or my DTA file, I'm going to go ahead and open Stata. To move my data into Stata, I'm going to go to File, and if I'm working with a DTA file, I'll go to Open. But today I'm working with a spreadsheet, so I'll go to Import, Excel Spreadsheet, and then I'll find that file on my computer. So I'm going to scroll down to the location of my file, open it. I can go ahead and clear out of this file in the background. Stata recognizes the general format for spreadsheets, and it gives you an option to import the first row as variable names. I'm going to click that because that's the way that I formatted my spreadsheet. And so when Stata imports this data, it will take the first row and title each of these variables with different observations the header for that specific column. That's what this function does. I'm going to select OK, and then here I get confirmation that I've successfully imported my Excel spreadsheet into Stata. And it's created 15 new variables to represent those 15 columns and 4,733 observations to represent those 4,733 cells. The first thing I recommend that you do with every new data file you import into Stata is use the describe command. So type describe and then hit enter. The describe command gives you a list of the variable names in the data you've imported. It tells you the kind of variable they are as basic programming knowledge. A double variable includes decimal points. A byte variable does not. So in this case, my wage variable did go out to decimal points to represent cents. These other variables did not. And then I have my variable label, which is the label I will use to manipulate the variable later on with other commands in Stata. The reason I use the describe command first is just to know what variables I have in my data set, and more importantly to know what they're called, so that when I go to reference them, because Stata is case sensitive, I am able to do so successfully. The second command I recommend using is the summarize command. So type summarize and then hit enter. The summarize command creates a list or a table of summary statistics for the variables that you've imported. So in this case, we have our variable name, we have the number of observations, the mean value, or the average, the standard deviation, and then the minimum value of that variable and the maximum value of that variable. This is a very basic way to get a broader picture of the kind of data you've brought into Stata and basic trends in that data. In this case, wage, which was measured hourly in dollars, we find that the average hourly wage was $10 and about 19 cents. The standard deviation was $6.21. The minimum value was $1.05. And the maximum value was $70.71. For something like a dummy variable or a binary variable down here, let's like married, we have the same number of observations, and we have a minimum value, of course, of 0 and a maximum value of 1. Those are the only values for a dummy variable. And then we have a much lower mean to represent the fact that we are only ranging between 0 and 1, and a standard deviation. Finally, I recommend using the tab command to give you a table representing data values for a specific variable. So in this case, my most complex variable, I would say, in this data set is wage. So I'm going to type tab to create a table, wage, and select enter, type enter. So here, I have a list of the data for the wage variable. It's listed from the minimum value, which is $1.05, all the way down to the maximum value, which is $78.71. It tells me the frequency of each of these variables and the percentage of the total that they represent. So this list is helpful to figure out which of your values are most common. In this case, for whatever reason, we seem to have a lot of responses at the level of $3.68. I just started identifying trends also at $4.42. We can use the tab command for any of these variables, and the final thing I'll do today is show you what it would be like to tab or make a table for the married dummy variable. So go ahead and think in your head what you would expect for a table like this, how large you would think it would be. Press enter, and if you were correct, since it's a dummy variable and we're only using the values of 0 and 1 for this data, we only have 0 and 1, we have the frequency for each and the percentage that represents, totaling up to, once again, 100% of the data. That covers everything in our Getting Started in Stata lesson. If you appreciated this lesson, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks and have a great day.